What's up? It's your boy the Knologist. We're back doing the Ajax and fetch comparisons for like endpoint calls. Example.com is going to be my new So this will be method get. And then, so it's then response. So if response okay, so that basically you're saying chain to promise if response is successful, then, and then catches for error. So if the response, or well, it just takes the response. If the response is not, okay, this is an error check. So this is basically your built-in try catch. So data equals, and then now that I get this, return response JSON. So I guess if it is okay, if the response makes it through, then you just return the response.json. And if not, then you go to the next step, depending on whatever happens. You would throw a new error right here if it doesn't work. Whereas in the Ajax call, okay, return then data alert JSON stringify data. So it gets this response. This response is then listed as data. This data here is what we got here. And now we're going JSON stringify to turn it into a string. Then we got catch error. Okay, so what does that mean for us? Equivalent fetch code. Key difference in fetch. Fetch, you manually handle converting the response JSON. Okay. So we have to manually convert to JSON. Fetch returns a promise. Doesn't have success, error, callbacks. Well, it's a promise chain. And you have to build in your own handling for that. Ajax automatically serializes query params for data, while fetch requires you to append them to the URL or build them yourself. Callback based success error, but can be promise like via deferred. Promise based chaining and fetch, then and catch or async await. Okay, older browsers, modern browsers only. Okay, that's fine. Because all the current browsers kind of tend you towards the new stuff anyways. So I guess line by line, it's going to be a bit different. Automatically parses JSON if data type JSON must call JSON.text or .blob explicitly. Automatically parses. So it looks like the AJAX call, the jQuery call using AJAX is like a lot simpler to work with in terms of knowing exactly what we're trying to do, and it already parses for me, whereas you have to manually parse. You still use JSON stringify. Or no, you don't. It only uses it in the error. Manually handle converting. Promise chaining. You could use async await here. It's still a promise. And then AJAX serialized data. Okay, cool. Error handling. Network issues. Built-in support for process data content type uses form API directly. Native to browsers. No dependencies. Requires the jQuery library. Okay. Legacy projects. jQuery heavy code bases. Modern JavaScript frameworks. I personally use fetch in a lot of my endpoints. When I'm using like Node or something, I usually use fetch. Or if I'm using React, I use fetch. But in like workplace areas and like in legacy code bases, I do see a lot of AJAX. Maximum browser compatibility. So I guess when would you use the other? I guess depending on what is more modern to go with. And then one more thing, I want to turn this. And this is what it would look like otherwise. So this is what I'm used to. Get the data, so I create some sort of endpoint here, endpoint function. I'll get a response method. If the method works or doesn't work, so if this response fails, then it throws an error instantly, and it's in a try block. So it's gonna throw new error, and then this error is gonna be fed to this catch block. So this is gonna go throw immediately to catch, and then if not, then this data is, we await it. So we're waiting for JSON from this response. So this is waiting on this to run, and then alert data JSON stringify data. So you could return that as well from here, or however you want to do it. And you run the function. It's not being used, it's just fetching. If you're just trying to read data, that's all you gotta do. Now the caller can use this. Yeah, so if you're just trying to fetch and make a fetch and then call it, that's fine. But if you want to return that data, this is what I'm used to. So then I'm going to say this is function async, and then I'm going to go fetch I want to do a comparison to show you guys. Get data. This be const. The frog princess is here. Dismiss that. We don't need her. Let's see. Async await and then method get. I'm sure my tablet's frozen. So there's that, and then if response okay, throw error. And then otherwise const data. And then try, then it will be close brackets, catch. And that'll usually be a one-liner. And then this has some async await code, try catch. Async try, JSON stringify. Okay. And then you could just bury that whole thing in another. It's like a bunch of async awaits basically. Let me highlight this. Where's the stringification happening? Oh, unless you stringify the result. Well, let's put this up on the screen, show you guys what's going on. So this is like, I guess, what this would look like, the chart of comparison. So you have your method. This is your Ajax call where you have all this stuff in an object. Basically, it returns the object as is. And then get, number of words, data type, JSON. Tells the server what kind of response it will accept. In this case, we're getting JSON data back. So it already parses it as JSON. So all we have to do is just alert with our success case. And then if it fails, we stringify the request. Here, same thing with fetch. URL up top. And this is all handled here. So if we compare it to here, this whole portion is handled within this Ajax call. This is handled as a separate piece. The dot then is what occurs next, which says if the response we get from this get if that's successful, then we return a response. This response is fed here into this promise. So now this whole thing executes, data stringify, and then catch error. And then lastly, you get this fetch with async await style. You get one big try block where everything happens, and then one catch block. So for modern browsers, you're most likely going to use this. But sometimes you might have to go back and understand how this works. Because this is in a lot of the legacy systems that make backend calls and stuff like that. Oh nice, 64 wood cutting. So function side effect is the first alert, so nothing needs to be returned. Second is makes the returning function usable, so you can process the data somewhere else. So right now this just pulls the data in this new fetch, and we call it here async. We make an async function call and say, hey, so try await this get data function. This is an async function, so we have to use async here. So we await this. If we get this back, which is the data here, then we convert it into a string from JSON. So basically the fetch from get data Exactly. So when you write const await JSON data, what's happening is, so fetch sends the HTTP server request, returns the response, not the actual JSON yet. This is just a response object. This has to be converted to JSON. Await response reads the body and parses it into a JavaScript value. Return data. So here where we do get data, if you call, the parse JSON is not a string. You see? If you actually need to use it as a string, you can go response.text. But normally the API will you'd use response.text normally for the API. So then stringify at the end. We just want to see why. Because we can't directly display JavaScript objects in a readable way. Turns the object into a JSON string. You see what I'm saying? Turns it into a JSON string for logging or sending somewhere else. Normally wouldn't do this in production code unless you're debugging. Don't stringify, keep it as an object. Yeah, because if you just want to view this, right now this JSON stringify that they did this because they want to add it to this alert. But if I just want to get the string data back, this already has the JavaScript object, and then I just have to use this part here, response.text, if I want the text back from that object. If you actually need it as a string. So that is it for jQuery versus the fetch. So the jQuery AJAX call versus fetch. Like, I tend to lean towards fetch just because it works. And also with the jQuery, you won't be able to use it with newer browsers as much. It's not really compatible with different browsers, right? So fetch is the more modern one. So like everything that you write code with now is expecting some sort of fetch call or Axios or some new library. Axios is another big one, but I just use fetch. It's easy, it's standard, but yeah, I digress. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, comment below. Knologist out. Stay tuned for more study sessions.